Hi, dear students, professors, master degree, PhD, whosoever. I'm very happy to present this seminar just before New Year and Christmas. So my heartiest congratulations on the events. And I very much hope that in the new year, you write much better. not necessarily due to these webinars, but writing English requires modals, which are also required in the Russian language. So I will speak English, but I would like you to reflect upon your Russian writing as well. Because the problem of wordiness, which you can see on the screen now, is probably one of the worst sides of features of writing when Russian writers start to write. Beginning with, I wouldn't say beginning with students, because students copy and imitate the style of their professors and the publications they read. And if the publications are mostly Russian, they imitate this Russian. They might even imitate the style of books and papers of the 19th century, with which, by the way, quite commonly every program begins, because they begin with the classics, and the epoch was absolutely different from what we have now. In the age of information, wordiness is merely a crime. Yeah. How to avoid wordiness and what is wordiness, how to cope with it, is the topic of our today's meeting. Now, let's move on to, yeah, I'm sorry. There is a technique to avoid not only wordiness, but some syntactical problems and academies, which is the false idea of writing academically. KISS. KISS is an abbreviation that is a mnemonical rule, which you can see on the screen now as keep it simple, stupid. So what we begin with when we start teaching students or participants in webinars and seminars, teaching them academic writing, it starts with KISS, because it's so very important. Keep it simple, stupid. This проще тупица. That is the first time I met this expression was a long time ago in the 90s. When Irish teachers came to teach presentation skills. So this formula concerns both oral presentations and written papers. In written papers, it is most important because not many people can really speak in an attractive, clear, persuasive, artistic way, right? So teachers ought to, but even as you listen to scientists lecturing, sometimes you just start keeping out of falling out of what they say due to different reasons. When you have a paper, you don't see the face, nor do you hear the voice. You cannot ask questions. So all the information which you grasp is in the text. It's distant communication. Moreover, it's distant both in time and in space, and you don't know who, of what nationality or culture, will read your work. But one mistake remains the same, wordiness, right? Which prevents understanding. Now, I will, so here on this slide, you can see 3 strategies to fight this problem. definitely I take those examples from my compatriots, right? However, wordiness is known around the globe. And even Anglophone writers who are taught academic writing at university level, they make such mistakes. But Russian, you know, is nearer to us. So not to offend any other nationalities. So look at the first strategy. So keep it simple means keep only key words. This means not articles and prepositions, which are essential, but these can be economized as well. You know, the tradition of writing Russian, which immediately occurs when you see of the. So even first year students say, this is written by a Russian. How do you know? Of. So generally, generative case is quite common in Russian, but it is not as eye-catching as the preposition of. But in the sentence, you can see as first, right? The first sentence under strategy 1. I want to have a look at this sentence, which takes 2 lines. And, you know, it's overlong. It's wordy and contains too much unnecessary information, which is not information at all. So how to cope with it? Don't try to cross out the words which are unnecessary. Begin on the other side. Elicit key words. Can you switch on your microphones and tell me which words cannot be deleted? Which words are most important for this sentence? Certainly I can begin with Bismarck, right? Otherwise, how can it be? Yeah. Bismarck, what else?
So labor policies.
Labor policies, thank you.
And of course,
working class, yeah.
Germany.
Germany, thank you.
Revolution.
What about revolution?
Well, I believe that that's a keyword because
keyword revolution. Revolution. So what with revolution? You need more words to leave.
Revolution was unnecessary.
That revolution was unnecessary completely, yeah, but not for attainment, yeah, because any revolution has its goals, right? That revolution was unnecessary. You know what? Each time I start asking such questions, people begin with nouns. There must be, you have found the right nouns, right? But you typically forget that there is the key verb. Everything turns around the verb. If you attended my previous webinars, you know that the verb is the most important. Yeah? So I have elicited what you have said, and the key verb here is convince, right? Now, who or what convinced who or what? And the sentence will be all right. Can you build this sentence now?
So maybe Bismarck convinced the working class of Germany by his labor policies that the revolution was unnecessary.
A bit clumsy. So whose policies? Did Bismarck himself convince working class? Or his policies convinced them?
Policies, I suppose.
Certainly. So how would you start the sentence?
So Bismarck's labor policies.
Bismarck's labor policies makes it much shorter than you say you have just said. The working class of Germany. What can you do with Germany? Rebuild it.
German working class.
German working class, absolutely. If Germany at all is important, because in a bigger even text, even in this one sentence, you know that Bismarck only introduced his policies in Germany. He was German, right? Okay, if we need Germany, let it be, right? Then we get this sentence. Is that clear? Has the sentence become clearer?
Yes.
Definitely.
Sure, sure. And referring to my previous webinars, subject, verb, object, that's all. Subject, verb, object. If you start a word count, you see the font is much bigger than in the initial sentence. It's actually one line and much clearer. Now, so whenever you think in Russian, in English, when writing, that your sentence is clumsy, that a piece of a text is bureaucratic rather, or academies, and you want to make it clearer, don't start with, trying to cope with what is no good. Try to cope with what is good, that is with informative words, right? So the first strategy, elicit the keywords and get it. The second strategy is keep one main idea per sentence. This is especially equally important with the first one, but sometimes the sentence is unreadable, not just because of the number of words, which are unnecessary, right? Look, as a result of the established by avoid passive voice. In English, avoid passive voice by all means. Use active. Who did what, and everything is all right. Now, when we discuss things, they can be passive, right? But look at the sentence that follows in strategy 2. Again, please elicit the words that are essential, informative, right? And secondly, think of which information should not be in this particular sentence.
So we can say just that there are nearly 1 million certified project managers, and this figure is growing still.
Yeah, so the number of certified managers is important. It is the most important thing, yeah? What should be, so how it grows, right, and how it has grown can be put in one sentence, right? How it has grown and how it keeps growing, yeah? Can it be in one sentence, logically? Yeah? Sure. So we discussed the number of certified project managers. What can be deleted from the sentence immediately?
So we can delete information about statistic data, demos group, and so on, and of course about some standards of project managing. So PMP, IPMA,
Yeah.
and
So the first thing, please, other participants, would you agree that the information in parentheses, it is like brackets says mathematics, parentheses, including 300 and blah, 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 those figures given, that it should not be in the sentence. It should be in another sentence separately or given somewhere else. Do you agree? This information does not belong to the sentence. It should be deleted from it, given somehow how differently. Agreed? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Now, what about demos group? Any statement which is not yours should be supported. Actually, it's a reference, but it should be much, much shorter. Can we leave this according to, but delete some words inside?
Yes.
How?
According to Demos Group research.
Demos Group, that's all. And after Demos Group, what do you need?
Well,
reference. Reference. And references in English always come in parentheses в круглых скобочках. That is why we need parentheses. That is why we avoid parentheses for other purposes. Because these brackets are used to give references by name and year of publication, or the first word of the title and year of publication. It should be given, and we cannot see the reference here indeed. It's a mistake by the author, right? Now, let's build the sentence subject, verb, object. So according to Demos Group, comma, remember the previous webinar, comma, subject, verb, object. What will be the subject? What is the most important information we are discussing?
The figure of project manager.
The number of who?
Project managers.
Certified project managers. So we have the subject now. The number of certified project managers did what and when?
It grows every year.
Increase, no, look at 1 million, January 2010. Use the right verb. The number of certified project managers connect, connect with 1 million. What did it do?
So 1 million, no.
The verb. Okay.
I'm not sure how to put it.
You will guess immediately if you place 2010 correctly. In January 2010 is the very beginning of 2010. So how to avoid this January? When did this figure become 1 million? К 2010 году. What is the preposition?
By.
By 2010. So the only thing you need now is the right verb. Даже по-русски будет тот же глагол. The number of certified project managers reached, yeah. So to make this long story short, so you leave 1 million, yeah, by 2010, and definitely this means that it's not over a month that this number appeared, right? Don't, by the way, mix up figures, numbers, and amount. Amount is for uncountables. Certified managers are counted. So it's their number, like the number of glasses for champagne and the amount of champagne to match the glasses, right? The amount of work, but the number of jobs, you see? So what about growing figures? Can you say every year in one word? Who knows? Just Latin. Every year. Imagine We don't say yearly reports, yearly. So it's meetings which happen once a year. How do you call them? In Latin, it's
Yearly, maybe.
anno domini, years dominating, annually, right? Annually is more academic and it's one word and it's formal and it's right, right? So to make the long story short, look at this sentence. According to Dimmer's group, and you give the reference because 2012 means that you look for Dimmer's group in the references. You don't need to repeat the name. The year of publication given in the references. The overall number of certified project managers, because now tell me, overall is necessary, but it stands here instead of which words? Which words become overall?
Instead of standards, which
I don't see the word standards at all. The overall number of managers means, in the sentence it was, in the initial sentence, it doesn't mean in Russia or in France or in the United Kingdom. It's the overall number. The author wrote in the in the world. You don't write in the world the number of certified project managers in the world. Is the overall number of certified project managers, like not working class people in Germany. People as an empty word, right? German working class. Not labor policies established by Bismarck, but Bismarck's labor policies. One adjective takes in 3 words or more. Look, so the overall number of certified project managers reached 1 million by 2010 and continues to increase by 20-25% annually. I want you to pay attention to percent, written first separately because it's a preposition and noun. So na sotnю, percent, per thousand, income per head, income per family, right? For example, 10 women per 1,000 cannot have children, right? Are infertile, one word, infertile, right? Cannot have children is spoken and long and wordy, and infertile is one adjective, as well as we have it in Russian, бесплодный, right? So maybe a horrible example, but I demonstrated this per 1,000, right? Okay. So percent in a text should be written in words and separately. Percent. The symbol which you have above 20 to 25 in the yellow eliciting is wrong for the text because this symbol of percent is only used in tables and graphs because it's graphic information, right? Like you don't write MLN for millions. In a table, in a graph, you economize within the word. So you use percent as a symbol, you use dollars as a symbol, rubles, right? MLN for million, right? Or use figures, right, as they are. Number is число работников, стаканов, посещений, right? Amount is uncountable, right, of wine, water, information, work. And figure is the symbols you can see. For example, in this sentence, you can see the figures 2010, 360,000, 90,000, 500,000. Despite what they mean and of what or of who, they are pure figures. Цифры, right? Not digits, but figures, right? And we can write figures show, if you present a graph or a table and start describing it, you will say figures show that the number of certified project managers has reached and continues to, in a graph you would see it. Yeah. Here in the text, there's not a table. So simply the text, then according to Dima's group, there should be a reference either to the table or to textual information, to a reference somewhere in the reference list. Yeah. So mind that figures are not numbers, and figures can represent both numbers and amounts, right? Whatever the figure. Yeah. Now, and the third strategy is to use the right verb, which we have already found out. That is, convinced is the most important. The main idea is that Bismarck's policies convinced working class that revolution was unnecessary. In the second sentence, we use reached 1 million and continues to increase, right? So there are several lexical mistakes in the sentence because these figures grow is wrong. The figures are given in parentheses and we don't need them in this sentence. Either you continue the paragraph by saying, thus, for instance, in PMP, blah, 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 the number reached, or the figure reached 360. In IPMA, it was blah, 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 right? So somehow else. So you give the information about those figures, and those are figures. 90,000, 500,000, they are really figures, and they should be given in a separate sentence as figures. Or they can be shown in a table, if there is a table, or if you don't consider it to be in the text at all, but just by the way, you can give a footnote. Just a footnote, right? 1 million, after 1 million, right? Reached 1 million by 2010. A footnote, and in the bottom of the page, at the bottom of the page, you will have these 3 figures as an example, with a reference again, if it is according to Dema's group, or no reference if Dema's group covers all. Okay, use the right verb. Look at the sentence which follows.
Maybe differs instead of occurs in other conditions.
First, where do we start? With the meaningful, important word, right? However, some words are wrong in themselves. In the case of Bismarck, and even in the second case, we used correct wording, but we reorganized the sentence to make it shorter, twice shorter, and much clearer. Here, I believe, the words are hidden in the text. What is done? Think of what is done by this sentence. What does the author want to do, want to demonstrate?
So that modern maturation process differs from
differs, right? Differs. Yes, this is the most important thing. Not occurs in other conditions, but differs, right? But conditions differ. how are these conditions created? What are they dependent on? How did this?
Modern communication technologies.
Yes. First, do we call them communication technologies or just by 2 letters? How do we call them? The second letter is T. The first is not C. It used to be ICT. And in Russian we said IKT. Now they skip the C. What is so how do we call those technologies?
IT.
IT. But when we focus on the very idea, we should better apply the whole term. But it is not communication technology, but internet technology, right? Information technology, I'm sorry. Yeah, information technologies or IT simply. So can you notice one more thing that annoys me greatly when I read Russian papers? So not only me, any Anglophone. Which word is repeated twice in this text? In this only sentence.
Modern.
Modern. Modernными токенами. So, dear participants, try to avoid these words at all. Because modern takes in modernity. Modern begins with the 20th century or even earlier. Modern art is not contemporary art, but something applied to modernism. So modernity is a very big period, and be very cautious with this word, right? If you want to mean something, we live in the era of postmodernism. Postmodernism. In the 21st century, we said goodbye to modernity in that way. So don't use these words at all. If we mean the difference between the generation before IT and the generation in IT, in the age of IT, it is a very short period of time. Sometimes parents and children, or at least like me and my grandchildren, right? Whatever. Yeah. So don't use modern. Which words can you use instead? Not modern children, не дети модернизма. А какие дети даже по-русски? Какое русское слово вы примените? Не надо современно. Вот это не modern. Современно это не modern. It can be contemporary, but look at the word contemporary. Con is the prefix so. Tempus, time. So временное это одновременное. Contemporary means, for example, he was my contemporary. Он был моим современником. То есть жили мы одновременно. You see? Contemporary. The first meaning is одновременность. Right? Contemporary. So this word is also bad. So I would rely on the correct Russian word. Дети эти живут когда?
Today.
Today. Сегодняшнее поколение, да? Нынешнее поколение. Right? Okay. Нынешнее не совсем письменное, it's just spoken language, but sorry, my Russian. So today, or today's processes, today's policies, today's life, right? Today's computers. use today, or today, comma, computers are, right? Today, comma, children. So you say differ. It's a perfect verb that you have found. Now tell me, what differs from what in this sentence? What is compared? Children to other adults, to adults, or those conditions to the conditions of the past?
Conditions of past.
Conditions, but condition again. As soon as you say condition, you say if. This is conditional, right? So the word condition is wrong. Children live in what? In a different what? Not condition, but look, which
in different
Environment.
environment. Yes, it can be visual environment. It can be ecological environment, family environment. But whenever we want to be enclosed into some, variety of factors, it's environment. So it's not conditions. So we take environment as the subject. Now build a sentence with differs. So the environment in which what happens?
in which children live today, maybe.
Develop today differs. Differs from what? Hey.
From yesterday environment.
You see the previous generation. It's important. Previous generation is correct. Look, the environment in which children develop today differs from that of the previous generation due to the spread of information technology. Due to the spread of information technologies. We correct words as well as we correct the structure of the sentence. You see? Are you familiar with such an expression as that of? What does it economize on? Is that means what? Environment. So the environment in which children develop today differs from the environment in which the previous generation developed. It all is taken into one word, that. For example, the money I paid at the restaurant yesterday differs from that I paid today, right? Or the books written by Tolstoy have some reminiscences with those by Turgenev. Okay, those books, right, written by. Yeah, you economize on words. You can look it up in grammar books, but it's just one of the expressions that is very good to use when you want to economize on words. That is fighting word. Now, let's move on. We have just noticed, I will return back, that in the third sentence, you have so many words. Have you noticed? Maturation, conditions, right? Communication, and sometimes it's too much. As soon as you have a noun instead of a verb, right? It needs of the. That's where the mistake is rooted. So how to fight it? It means to fight nominalization. Nominalization is, killing the verb. What John Bean says. John Bean is an expert in academic writing of global importance. He wrote a big book. In this book, it's an American, by the way. It's an American book and an American author who has never visited Russia, I believe. It's not about Russians, it's about anybody. And he says, powerful writers express actions with verbs. In contrast, writers infested with nominalization, то есть зараженные номинализацией, как болезнь, often contracted through unsafe intercourse, через незащищенные контакты, простите меня, with bureaucrats, psychobabblers, and educational administrators, convert actions into nouns. Instead of saying, effective writers express actions with verbs, the suffering nominalizer prefers to say, read. Not only are such sentences longer and deader, concludes Bean, but they are also less clear. So say directly what you want to say, and you won't need any nominalization. Look at the Russian example of a suffering nominalizer below. If you start reading it aloud, you will, fall into the Russian way of pronouncing words. Like, taking in consideration the way of innovation creation, it is worth to mention innovations are most horrible, isn't it? Can you work this sentence out, making it just several words, one line? What is the main idea? Here you will need the passive voice because implemented is right.
The innovations are mostly implemented through projects.
Instead of mostly. The way, не больше, чаще, а наилучшим образом. How would you say that?
Better?
Best. Innovations are best implemented through projects. Again, the right word in the right place is the key idea of academic writing. So not mostly implemented, but best implemented projects. Because if you say best, you mean that the best way to implement innovations is through projects due to their nature, naturally, right? Best implemented, not mostly. Mostly is just по большей части. It doesn't tell us any opinion on why. Best means why in itself. Yeah, it's clear. Do you like Bean's definition of nominalization? You know what I just did?
It's perfect.
So actually, professors who attend and teachers who attend my courses, I have it also, I translated it into Russian for those who don't study academic writing in English. They laugh. Why? Because of the educational administrations. You see, educational administrators around the globe, including the United States, are compared with bureaucrats and psychobabblers, людьми с психическими расстройствами речи, because it's unnatural to write this way. You see, unsafe intercourse. Please, I recommend that you avoid unsafe intercourse with educational administrators as much as you can. Although none of us can, and I myself am under the, under huge pressure of all those bureaucratic documents, because of which I nearly missed the beginning of our today's webinar. But please do. It's very difficult to keep safe and keep reason when you are in an insane context. I understand. When everybody around is crazy, but it's not everybody around. We are not crazy. Russians are witty people who can use the right word in the right place and say very shortly, very briefly what they want. Who interferes? The tradition. The wrong academy's tradition of writing in Russian, because we skipped a whole century in the 20th century. The century of when academic writing was developed in the West, we were behind the fence. And in the Soviet period, we were isolated. And even today, we do not have a proper system of teaching academic writing. So try to do it in Russian as well, right? You can translate John Bean into Russian, and you will have it the same way. Удачные умные писатели выражаются глаголами. It's short. And you can try to translate the second sentence into Russian, and you will get the same nominalized horrible sentence. Okay. И one little recommendation for you. We are slightly, approaching, little by little approaching the end of our webinar. Look, if you click wordiness, Google wordiness, click wordiness anywhere in the Google, you will most probably, right, 100% I would say, get lots of websites of university. Sorry the cat. Of universities, Western universities, who will give you advice on how to avoid wordiness. If you take books on syntax, on writing, you will also have sometimes appendices that will demonstrate how to avoid wordiness. But websites are just, you can reach them everywhere. And those websites and recommendations look approximately like what you can see in this slide. It is much shorter than the original, much shorter. I just show you a piece. Look, avoid nominalization. Look, instead of saying, take it into consideration, just consider. Or cause the destruction of, destroyed. Started negotiation to make change, negotiating changes. Draw the conclusion, concludes. Draw a deduction, deduces. Make a decision, decides, right? Has an impact on, say, influences, right? Investigate it, just look at it. Not as able to, not that it is, very often Russians write, it is possible that, can. What can be, right? Delete words, right? It is obvious, it is clear, it is important to know that. Delete these words both in Russian and English. Not the majority, but most. You need the word majority in politics. When you discuss voting, it will be reach the majority. In other cases, when you simply mean most students, most problems, most teachers, most cases, it's simply most, not the majority. Definitely not at the present time, but now or today. You see, no modernity, by the way. Not due to avoid structures like those empty words with facts. Due to the fact that, for the reason that, simply because, simply due to, right? If you need due, not in order to, but simply to. They built a new bridge across the Moscow River to connect the two banks, right? That's all. To connect, not in order to connect, but to connect. Yeah. Not in the final statement, in the final, simply finally, not in the near future, but so, you know, this list is just, you know, any list you can find on the website, due to its format, is limited. In fact, these lists are just, they represent the words that you can paraphrase by one word instead of several. Keep an eye on such websites. You can download them, right? Those recommendations, and then check your text if you are writing in English on whether or not you have nominalization and such wordy structures. Okay, polish your text. By the way, unpolished texts are, you know, a very big mistake. You need to polish it, that is, check it, right? With a, you know, with a keen eye. So give your text to a colleague, to a friend, to your wife or husband, to whosoever, to read quickly through. If the person says, you know, so don't mind terminology. I mean, is it understandable that this thing is this thing and this thing leads to that thing? Whatever the thing, yeah, I know you are not a specialist. Even then, a person can help. I don't understand whether this thing implies that thing or that thing implies. So you know what? This place is unclear. You start explaining, and you get the right answer. Or welcome to. If nobody wants to read your text, come to our writing center. That's what we are for. You can meet me online, and I will give you all the recommendations, right? To finish our webinar today, I will return, because I will return to the two quotations I've already given you in the very beginning in some, when we studied, only started this series of webinars. Look at this sentence, please. It was published. It was published in a Scopus journal, Russian Scopus journal. It was written by two authors, one of whom was British. Do you think this particular sentence belongs to the British author or to the Russian author? Do you think? Switch on your microphone. Was it written by a British author or a Russian author?
Well, it feels kind of Russian.
Sort of Russian. Students typically say it's Russian. Yes, certainly. And you know, the only thing I'm terribly sorry is the Russian author, by the way, claiming that she or he, I wouldn't discover all, is a teacher of academic writing. You know what? I'm terribly sorry that the co-author, the British co-author, did not polish the text, because the Russian author did not have to find somebody who would read it for you, because it's your mutual text. You work together. Let the British author read through and correct your clumsy Russian, because this is Russian. Okay, although grammatically it seems correct. Now, remember what we did with the 3 strategies? Please elicit the keywords. Find the words that can be verbs, because there is a lot of nominalization.
The absence of free choice.
So what is it? How can you paraphrase with 2 words, 1 word? The absence of free choice means that somebody, what is the verb? From choice. Choose, right? So can or cannot choose? Switch on, please.
Somebody can choose the form of presentation.
Okay, cannot choose what?
How to present
How
the
to present?
results of
Thank you.
intellectual activity, I guess.
What is the results of intellectual activity? Choose the right adjective to results. If you apply your intellect for academic studies, what kind of results do you obtain? What do you carry out?
Discoveries?
No. What do you carry out if you are a scientist?
Research.
Research, you are a researcher. So what results?
Results of research?
Research results. Look, research results present research results. Where are the of? No. How to present research results? Yes. Can I choose how to present research results? Yes. Do you need this in other words one may speak about? Forget about it. But who do you think are those who cannot choose how to present their research results? Who are they?
Scientists?
Yes, writers. Writers in science and in sciences and disciplines. So actually, how to rebuild a sentence depends on what you want to say. There is another thing that is hidden here. So this is the first way. The form of presentation, it's formal requirements, right? What impedes publishing as you wish is formal requirements. So she's discussing in the paper those formal requirements. So the subject is formal requirements, right? Not the absence of free choice. I simply limit the ways of presenting research results. This is one kind of building up sentence. What do you think is the most important information here? Presenting research results or formal requirements? The new information, the most important. It is certainly in the verb, limit. Just imagine how the text will go on. It will describe what? It can be a good topic sentence, by the way. the text will follow on how these ways are limited, right? And how these formal requirements, and they should be described, limit the ways of presenting research results. But I will give you a second there. Like this. It seems as if these two sentences were similar, but they are not. Yeah.
I think the second one lacks the keywords.
Why? Which keywords?
Actually, I think that formal requirements, well.
Aha. Can you see the word restricted?
Yes, but restricted by what? What's the point? It's restricted, but why?
But why? Formal requirements. Whose requirements? The same idea. If you say journal requirements, that's one thing. Or standardized governmental requirements, it will be another thing. So bureaucratic requirements, the third thing. So the idea is that any formal requirements limit writers' freedom of publishing how they want. But they can be good, these requirements. Look, if we take as requirements, so take what I have said in this particular webinar and my previous webinars as requirements, we can call them formal if they are published on the websites of journals for the authors, as information for the author. But they will be good requirements. So, you know what, we will finish this and I will comment in the end by, I will switch it off. But restricted or there are formal requirements is about the same. The problem is the sentence is built from the information you know towards the information which is new. So formal requirements is what you are discussing, the topic of the sentence, and there is the controlling idea which will be developed further in the text. Limit the ways of presenting research results. The second sentence is vice versa. Writers' freedom in presenting their research results is restricted. So the point is that they are restricted, and you will then develop how their freedom is restricted. They are very close together, but they give you two variants. Just let's take it as two variants of improving this unclear nominalized sentence, right? Twice shorter and many times clearer. Yeah. Now look at this sentence. It's one sentence again. What do you think of this sentence? Is it too wordy? And does this wordiness impede understanding?
Yes, it's a bit wordy. So
it's a bit wordy. It was written, by the way, not by a Russian, but a Nigerian student, a master degree Nigerian student. And in Nigeria, they speak English since childhood. But it's not her native tongue, it's a second language. So she doesn't make grammar mistakes. She's not supposed to make grammar mistakes because she has spoken English since she was born. But still, being so wordy necessarily, inevitably leads to grammar mistakes. Can you see the grammar mistake here?
So we can say that African. Oh, sorry.
Sorry?
So we can say that African colonies adopted a militant nationalistic approach to agitate for independence.
I want you to draw your attention that there is a grammar mistake. Just grammar. Beginner's grammar, elementary grammar. Oh, sorry. Простите, я не могу разговаривать. Okay? Look at the middle of the sentence. There is a plural singular mistake. The subject is plural. The verb is singular. Where? All attempts at using peaceful means of protest has
failed.
You see what happens? It is a speaker of English. But if she writes all the attempts have failed, it would automatically be have failed. Like they have failed. When she's creating such a huge subject, all attempts at using peaceful means of protest, and she sees protest and peaceful means is plural, attempts plural, protest singular, has failed. The same happens with Russian. If you look through Russian papers of your students or your own papers, you sometimes, when you are wordy and create huge unreadable sentences, there will be not only wordiness, not only nominalization, but inevitably you will have some grammar mistakes. You are all Russians, and you will fail to write correct Russian. Вы запутаетесь в падежах совершенно однозначно. I keep editing academic texts by researchers. I participate in revising articles in journals. And you know what? Punctuation mistakes, grammar mistakes, even, lexical mistakes are quite common. So an editor's work is horrible. Look, if we pick out now in this particular sentence, actually it's a thesis statement. Pick out the necessary words. What will be the informative words? You said African colonies, yes. Second World War, yes. What else? What is the most important word?
African colonies.
Huh? Can you elicit the collocation, which is the most important in this thesis?
Militant nationalistic approach?
Absolutely. And where can you find it? In the end of the fourth line. You should begin with the militant nationalistic approach, right? So the paper argues that what? A militant nationalistic approach, which was what? Which was what? You have the word adopt, which was adopted or simply adopted, right? The militant nationalistic approach adopted by who? By many. Okay.
Well, maybe we use some other words instead of African colonies. So
there are no more colonies after the Second World War. They are states. But what kind of states? Colonies become an adjective. I believe I heard somebody speaking. Okay, that's how I tried it. Is the sentence much shorter?
it's
Yes.
much better.
Does it keep the same information in it?
Well, now I can actually understand what it was about.
Certainly. Although the sentence was generally grammatically correct, although the author using too many commas, additional information, incorporating, so the important information was in the end. So you find the most important words and begin with them. That's the idea. So what does the paper argue? That the militant nationalistic policy adopted by many African colonial states, not colonies already, right? Colonial states, why? In their struggle for independence, when after World War II, proved effective. Look, it worked indeed, it worked in the end. It proved effective, 2 words, and everything is clear. Agreed? Okay. You know what? I need to, stop the presentation.